Hi everyone, this is Alex or Alexander. So today I want to talk to you about secondary air injection pump and the issues related to it. The reason why, because of some people don't understand how the system works correctly, and that misleads them, and they diagnose the issue incorrectly. They replace the parts they really don't have to be replaced, and waste of time and money, which I hate a lot, if you know that. So if you saw my previous video about how to diagnose a catalytic converter issue, that should help you to understand why there is a secondary air injection system on the vehicles. But for people that didn't watch it, pretty much I'll explain it quickly. For the catalytic converter to work correctly, we need CO2, we need oxygen, and fine materials that are in catalytic converter. So secondary air injection system, what it does, it injects the oxygen, air, into the exhaust system, and that helps to create chemical reactions. So the car I'm working on today is a 2010 Chevy Impala, and we got the code, so let me show you the code. So as you can see, I got my scanner plugged in, the keys in the on position, and this is the code that concerns me the most. P0411, secondary air injection system pressure sensor circuit. And let me show you another thing. There's another code, P0523, engine oil pressure sensor circuit, high voltage. That one we're not really worried about it because I'm in a Chevy scan tool. But let me go back to regular OBD, and I want to show you another code that it's triggering as well. And I'm gonna explain to you what's going on. I looked at this car earlier this week, and at that point it only had one code under the OBD. So let me see. There we go. I'm trying to get as less reflection as possible, but it seems like impossible task. All right, P2430, secondary air injection system airflow pressure sensor circuit bank 1. Second code is P2440, secondary air injection system switch valve stock open bank 1. So actually this is not the codes that I saw the last time I looked at this car a couple days ago. That day I just reset the light and I asked the customer to continue driving the vehicle to see what it pops on. So the codes that we saw, I saw earlier this week, was the code for secondary air injection system airflow issue. And I want to show you the live data as well on the scanner. We're gonna go forward. We'll get into understanding how this system works. Okay, so commanded secondary air status off. That means the computer is not asking the air pump to kick in and inject more air into the exhaust system. Sorry, it's kind of chilly outside today. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, so this is how the system's set up on these cars, but pretty much most of the vehicles are about the same because the laws of physics everywhere is the same. So there's really not much that can change. So we're gonna have a pipe that comes in from the air box, and it runs down to the pump, electrical pump up there. The electrical pump only got two power cables, two wires that goes to it, which is negative and positive. So this is pretty much for the computer to turn on the pump on and off. So then we got another pipe. Let me get a better shot. This is the other pipe that when the pump is on, the air flows from the pump into the valve right here. So this valve, what it does, it opens and closes whenever the computer needs it to, and he lets the air into this tube, this metal piece right there, which is attached directly to the cylinder head, right? So when it goes into the cylinder head, there is channels where the air will flow through the cylinder head directly into the exhaust manifold. So pretty much when the pump is on, the air will flow directly into the exhaust system, into the manifold, and goes into the catalytic converter. So pretty much whenever the computer decides it, he kicks in the pump and he lets the air in to help the catalytic converter create a better chemical reaction and lower the emissions. That pump don't have to be on all the time. It's only when it has to be, and the computer that makes that decisions according to the readings of the oxygen sensors. So the code that I saw earlier this week was insufficient airflow in the secondary air injection system. So right away, what I'm thinking is happening is it's not the pump that's bad, it's not the valve that's bad. Well, it is possible, but I don't think that's my issue. The number one issue, what happens, especially on the older car, you know, about 10 years old and higher, and high mileage, the car most likely burns a little bit of oil, which creates a buildup in exhaust valves, and that kind of a little bit clogs up the ports for the exhaust gases to get out of the combustion chamber and go to this exhaust system. So what else it will clog up? It will clog up those little channels that the secondary air injection system used to put the air into the exhaust system. So this car been into the shop a couple months ago, and they already replaced the pump on it, and guess what, the code came back pretty much within 10 miles of driving, the same code. So now, right now, the car is kicking a different code, which is saying the pressure is not right, and this is the guy who's probably going to decide this, I'm pretty sure. As you can see, there is a 5-wire connector, so this is a reference wires, power wires, this and that. And they're also saying the check valve is stuck open or closed. Sorry, I forgot. But what I'm thinking is, because the channels where the air flows up there through, it has to be a certain size. So with the carbon buildup inside of those channels, it will decrease the diameter of the channel, which will increase the pressure in the system. Because of now, we got the same amount of air going through a smaller size tube, let's say. So, and that's one of the codes the computer is kicking in, that the pressure is incorrect. Secondary, it's saying that this guy is stuck. The reason it could be stuck, it's not because it's bad, because it's really dirty on the inside and the valve can't operate properly. So this is what I'm thinking, and right now I'm gonna go ahead and remove this whole assembly right up here, and I'm gonna take this valve off, and I'm gonna see the inside condition, see how much carbon buildup we have, and try to do my best on cleaning it. And we're gonna put everything back together and reset the code and let the customer drive the car and see what happens. And listen, this is not just about this particular car. This issue happens a lot. This issue happens a lot, not just on a Chevy Impala. A lot of German cars, like I said, mainly it's due to the age and mileage. German cars, Audis, Volkswagens, BMW. I've seen cases where it's just a vacuum line that's broken. So always start with the cheapest thing. I would first of all check those vacuum lines where the air flows in that system. Check them, make sure they're not broken, they're not cracked, or anything like that. That'd be my first thing to start. Second of all, depending on the code, like I said, I would try to get access to and see the inside condition, and if there is a lot of build-up crap in it, I would try to clean it. I had this BMW a few months ago, 05 BMW 745. It was flowing the same code. What it ended up being is the clogged up channels inside of the cylinder head. and the air could not flow. The computer would see that, and he would trigger the code, and you can't pass the car for inspection. And that particular BMW actually was burning a lot of oil. I would say about almost 2 quarts per 1,000 miles. So, and that's what led to clogging up the ports. And sometimes you might get lucky, and if you remove the exhaust manifold, you might be able to get access to them ports and clean them out on the outside. Sometimes you might not be so successful, and you might gonna have to take the cylinder head off and clean it, cook it, assemble everything. So we're gonna try the easiest things first, because I know my vacuum lines are good. So I'm gonna take that part off and start with that. So I'll show you in a little bit what happens. Thank you. So the original code on this vehicle was P0411, and that code P0411, and that code stands for insufficient flow of the secondary air injection system, and that's why it's leading me to believe that it's clogged up. So as you can see, I had to take this air sleeve, part of the air box, off to give me more access. By the way, take a look at the throttle body, and you see how dirty it is. That is not good. It should be serviced. It should be cleaned up. That can give you a bad idle. It could give you stalling out. The engine is when you come to complete stop, and the engine, the RPM drops down to like 500. It feels like it's about to cut off. That's mainly because of clogged up throttle body. Because there's supposed to be a gap up there to let enough air for the engine to stay idling. So then I removed this, then unplugged, of course, the plug for the check valve, and then up there I removed the 3 big bolts, and I removed the 2 small bolts that holds this pipe in place. So this is how it's set up here. Let me show you. So this is that big piece that I was telling you about. That's the check valve. So this is the 3 15mm bolts I got off. I mainly used my breaker bar, just a regular 15mm socket, and I used this 10mm socket to unbolt this little pipe right up here. There was 2 10mm, 2 up here, 2 10mm. But pretty much what I did, I took these 2 10mm, I took these 3 15mm, and I took the whole assembly out, and then unbolted up here. So as you can see, the check valve is not really that dirty. It's got some, I'm trying to shine the light in it. It's got some buildup in it, but not too bad overall. As you can see up here, there's a little bit more buildup. So this is the pipe. This is the end by the check valve. As soon as I shine my light, it's very hard to, it's just blinking. Let me see if I can put the, so let me see if I can give you a little better shot. Yeah, it's pretty clean on this end. Fortunately, that's as best as I can get. But on this end, we do have some buildup. I know it's very hard to see. Yeah, a little bit. So pretty much that pipe connects to another pipe that goes up there right underneath the exhaust manifold. I'm trying to give you a better shot. So that's the pipe I gotta get to, because that's what attaches to the cylinder head, and through the cylinder head it goes right directly into the exhaust manifold. So as you can see, I jacked up the car. As always, I put the stance on for safety, and then I removed the passenger side front wheel, and this is what I got. As you can see, here's the pipe that I'm shining on, the metal pipe right underneath the exhaust manifold. That's the pipe I gotta get to. As you can see, it connects directly to the cylinder head right underneath the exhaust manifold. Seems like there are about 4 10mm bolts. So I'm gonna try to get them off and remove that whole pipe assembly and take a look at the condition of it, and also take a look at the condition of the ports inside of the cylinder head. Because like I said, that's most likely where it's clogged up, because the closer to the cylinder head, the worse the condition of the carbon buildup inside of the pipe. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll show you the results in a little bit. Alright, so I managed to remove this pipe that bolts on right underneath the catalytic exhaust manifold. So this side goes directly on the cylinder head, and that little pipe, metal pipe, it attaches right up here, as you can see. So how did I do it? Right, I used a 10mm socket and little extensions. And one way I had to use a long extension. Let's see, where's my socket? There we go. So the first two bolts, this is you're looking at the passenger side. This is the driver side. So there are 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is how I got access to it. The first 2 bolts, I managed to get access right through the wheel weld. And right there. There's 1, there's 2. Third one was a little bit tough to getting from here, so what I did, I put these extensions together and I went through, 1 second. So I had a long extension like this, and I slid it right under the car, and I went past the subframe alongside of this exhaust pipe, and you can probably see it in the middle of the screen. There's the hole for the 10mm bolt. So this is the third one, if we're counting from the passenger side. And the fourth one, I got access just directly from here, from above the motor, using a little extension and a dip socket. So that was it. So when I removed the pipe, I was able to confirm that our issue is not the pipe being clogged up. The pipe is pretty clean. I got no problems, you know, putting anything in it, and there is no dirt, there is no cloggage. So my suspicions was wrong in this particular case, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible and it doesn't happen in other vehicles. It could have been a problem as well. And like I said, I did all of that to properly diagnose the vehicle before I told the customer buy any kind of parts and replace any kind of parts without knowing for sure if it would fix the problem or not. So another thing you want to do is put like a pick in the hole of the cylinder head itself, which I'm trying to get to right now. And yes, the pick goes in, no problem, and it comes out pretty clean. So the cylinder head is not clogged in, and I would assume the exhaust manifold is not clogged up either. So our flow is fine as far as that we don't have no cracks anywhere in the pipes, in any of these pipes, or either this one. Our problem is not the system is clogged up. Our issue is the check valve, because of that, if the check valve does not open correctly to what the computer is telling him to do, let's say the computer is asking him to open 100% and he opens only 80%, the computer will throw the P0411 insufficient flow. Let's say if the computer is asking it to be closed and he stays open, then it's gonna kick you the same code, plus it can also kick you the other codes that I showed you earlier, as far as I believe what was it, the P0411, that the check valve is stuck or the pressure is incorrect because of the malfunction of the check valve. So now I'm 99% confident telling my customer to purchase the check valve and replace it. But for now, I gotta install everything back on what I removed, and please don't forget to use the new gasket or use the liquid seal on the gasket maker RTV. That would work just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back together now, purchase a new check valve, install that, reset the check engine light, and the car will be fixed. So that's it for today. We pretty much went over most common possibilities, what could go wrong, what needs to be done, and I think I explained pretty good how to diagnose this issue correctly and how the system works. So don't forget, knowledge is power, and if you know what it do, you know what to look for and you know what to replace. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.